Hey guys, it is Joanna. It's Saturday morning. I just woke up a few minutes ago, 15 minutes ago maybe. Did my morning routine of take the dog outside, let her pee, give her food, make her frozen Kongs, let her go outside again to take a dump, come back in, and she is now, so in the mornings usually she's a little bit more chill, so she's now in her crate enjoying a little more food and a treat, and I'm making this video. Hi! So I just got up, like I said, and I haven't done anything to my face yet, but last night, I did my TLC Sukari baby facial, which I haven't done in a while because my life has been kind of crazy, as you saw by my last video. But oh man, it's so nice. I'm like, oh yes, this is why I like this stuff so much. And I had this like little zit here, which you can probably still see, but last night it was kind of like on the verge of getting bigger, and this morning it's actually gotten smaller. So I will have to credit that to my TLC Sukari baby facial. So yeah, anyway, great stuff. It's one of the only products from Drunk Elephant that I think is totally worth it. I know it's expensive. You can always find those, like, you know, sales going on at some point if you're patient, or you know, just spend full price for it because it really lasts a long time. And yeah, so this morning is going to be pretty casual, and I'm gonna be talking a bit about some of the things I've been really enjoying whilst doing a face mask. So this one was sent to me from Patchology, which you've seen my reviews before. You know that I really like this brand, and this is probably the best collaboration ever. It's so genius. Usually I'm like not really bought into like collaborations, but this is really smart. It is a face mask with kimchi, and if you know me, you also know that I absolutely love RuPaul's Drag Race, and kimchi is certainly one of the standout stars from season 9, I want to say. 7? I can't recall what season she was on, but anyway, she's like certainly one of the drag world darlings from RuPaul's Drag Race. Which we'll talk about too while I'm doing this. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing right now, and excited to get it on. You guys, this looks so ridiculous, but I am living for it. Okay, so let me just quickly give you the background on this particular face mask. So some of the big selling points on this one is that it is super rich in hyaluronic acid and ceramide, so it's great for a very hydrating face mask. And I have to say, like, the feel of the serum is quite rich. Sometimes, you know, on these face masks they're like kind of drippy, but you saw on this one that it didn't really drip. It was kind of a little bit thicker in its constitution, and it is feeling just very nice on my skin. Looks absolutely ridiculous. I think if Kimchi ever came out in this drag on RuPaul, she would definitely have been off the show immediately, but whatever. I'm loving it. Okay, so a little bit first about just Drag Race in general, and if you guys are not watching RuPaul's Drag Race, it is now on VH1, and it has become like even more of a phenomenon than it was. I started watching it not too long ago actually, but kind of before it really took off, and I just came across because I saw it while I was scanning for something to watch, and in Amazon Prime they had season, I think, 5 and 6 available for randomly, and I was like, oh, what's this? I guess I'll give this a try, and I was hooked. And in particular, season 5 is, I think, my favorite season of all time. So if you want to watch, you should really start there. They have some serious characters, and so much of our pop culture references, I mean, historically, but continues now to be defined by drag culture. And for example, from season 5, I hope I'm not mistaken in my saying this, but from season 5, you know, like Cardi B's Okur, which I can't do, so Okur, you know what I'm talking about. That is awfully wrongly attributed to Cardi B or to Khloe Kardashian. It actually came from one of the drag queens on season 5, Laganja Estranja. Let me just double check that was it season 5. Okay, my iPhone is not recognizing my face right now. Okay, I was mistaken. It was from season 6. And nevertheless, season 5 is a great season to start. It has some amazing characters, some of my favorite drag queens, like Alyssa Edwards. Yeah, it's such a fun show. It is so, it's just like, you know, Project Runway plus America's Next Top Model plus Top Chef, like on steroids. Okay, there's no Top Chef element, but it's definitely like Project Runway plus America's Next Top Model plus like your other talent competition on steroids, and it's such a great time. Watch that, know your pop culture references, and really enjoy yourselves. Okay, right now this season in FYI, I am rooting for Evie Oddly. She's, you know, not as polished as some of our other classical favorites who went that direction, but I really appreciate her charm. The next thing I wanted to talk about is like the podcasts I've been listening to. On Instagram, I have been sharing with you guys a lot of the podcasts I listen to, and in particular though, there are a few that I'll just rattle off right now in case you missed it while on Instagram. And I just think, you know, I've been super into listening to podcasts lately, just because, well, always, but in particular lately, because I just found like a bunch of really great shows lately from this this production house, I guess, called The Wondery. And they did the Dirty John series. I never listened to that one because I actually read that as an article, so I was like, well, I'm not going to listen to this as a podcast now. However, I have listened to, and I'm currently listening to, Dr. Death, Over My Dead Body, The Gladiator. Dr. Death is harrowing, if not for the faint of heart. If you are grossed out by descriptions of medical procedures, do not listen to that one. But it is a super fascinating look at our medical system and some of the kind of craziness in this sociopath who was operating within it with pretty much impunity. Over My Dead Body is about this case from a few years back. Dead husband, wife was in the process of divorce. What happened? It digs into that and kind of the, you know, messy world of a marriage gone wrong. But then also it's like the intrigue of who was actually responsible for his death. The Gladiator, or just Gladiator, sorry, is all about Aaron Hernandez, who, if you're a football fan, you know he was on the Patriots and got dumped from the Patriots because he was then convicted of murder and was serving a sentence when he was discovered to have committed suicide. And so the Gladiator goes into kind of his life and just generally football Inc., which I'm not a big football fan. I'm not a big sports fan. I don't watch sports really as a force of habit, but it is, again, just such an interesting look at how the mechanisms of football in America work and how they produce these athletes and who are very ill-equipped at such a young age to handle everything that they are brought, and how, you know, it kind of just chews them up and spits them out, and sometimes there are really tragic stories. So this was a really fascinating one. It was in partnership with the Boston Globe. So those were the ones from Wondery that I have been listening to. And then also The Dropout, which right now seems to be a moment for Elizabeth Holmes. A few videos back I mentioned the book Bad Blood by John Carreyrou, all about Theranos. Well, The Dropout is about that same story, but it's done in a podcast form, and even though I read Bad Blood, I still really enjoyed The Dropout as a podcast. So if you're just really into more about this Elizabeth Holmes story, and then recently there was just the HBO documentary on it as well. I haven't seen that one yet. It seems to be a moment for her. I'm also super excited to watch the upcoming feature film, which is going to be starring Jennifer Lawrence as Elizabeth Holmes. I think that is like perfect casting. Yeah, it's a fascinating tale again of just kind of our culture and how you fake it till you make it. Or don't make it, I guess, in her case. Okay. And then the one that's currently regularly updating. So all of those 4 that I just mentioned you can kind of binge through them because they've already published all the episodes. But the current one that I am listening to is called To Live and Die in LA. And this one is about another murder, a true crime, you know, whatever. It's great. But it's, I mean, I think this one the production is just, it's really good in that it really keeps you like wanting more and wanting to know more about the story. You can also just Google the story, but I'm curious if they find out more information that they reveal in the course of this podcast. Those are the podcasts, but more importantly, related to podcasts is the HBO miniseries now on Adnan Syed. So a few years ago, like in 2013, one of the first major podcast phenomenons was Serial. If you haven't listened to the original Serial season 1, I don't know where you've been, living under a rock or something, but it was captivating, and the story of Adnan Syed also, I feel like, really lit a fire on this whole like true crime world. But HBO right now is airing a 4-part documentary about that case and revisiting it and sharing some new information. Obviously it's biased. The original podcast also had a lean, but I am so like, I'm like, I don't think Adnan did it. I am hook, line, and sinker. I'm buying it. I'm curious what you guys are thinking. You know, the curiosity though is, if it's not Adnan, how does Jay know everything? And then did Jay do it? But then if Jay did it, what was his motive? And can we trust that a motive, you know, driven by his jealousy over Stephanie is enough? Like, it doesn't feel plausible, and it's such a question mark, right? And in those cases, you're like, maybe Occam's razor, like the easiest solution probably is the correct one, in which case then it's Adnan. But when you watch these documentaries and you listen to Serial, you're like, there's so many questions that it doesn't, and so many inconsistencies that you're like, that doesn't feel right. Or maybe it wasn't Jay at all, and it was maybe just one of those cops, like cop-induced, like you know, fabricated confessions, which it sounds like, oh, that'll never happen. Like, how can that happen? But I've seen so many, you know, so much research and documentaries and like evidence of this very thing happening. Serial season 3, actually, the podcast, is all about our justice system and how those kind of wheelings and dealings goes on, and it's fascinating. You should definitely listen to that as well. But yeah, back to the Adnan Syed case. I'm just like, I don't know. I can't fathom what the right answer is, which is why this case is such a conundrum, and it's like such a captivating case, because I think it's also very divisive. A lot of people are just very hardcore in one camp or the other. So what do you think? You know, are you guys watching the HBO documentary? You should. It's really well done. Again, like, if you think he's guilty, you might be like, this is annoying, like, poor, like, Hayes' family, like, she's the one who's the victim, and we're like keep revisiting this and opening this wound, because Hayes' family clearly believe that Adnan is guilty. But I have a hard time believing that, and it sucks to think that this like potentially innocent man has been in prison for the greater part of his life. You know, I am like, yeah. Anyway, okay. Now that I have made a sufficient fool of myself with my mask on, let's take this off. Oh, it feels beautiful. Look at my face. I'm just also gonna rub the juices all over my body, because waste not, right? Waste not, want not. That was wonderful. I mean, these face masks are always a joy to use from Patchology, so you can't go wrong. But in particular, I just think how fun. I love to, you know, from a collaboration perspective, I'm more than happy to support Kimchi. In fact, you know, her and the other drag queens that I'm a huge fan of, like, I'm like, yes, I will spend money to buy your silly merchandise. Like, she has these really cool enamel pins, which I'm like, oh, I could definitely use a few of those, so I'll probably be getting some soon. Anyway, that's it for today. My face is feeling refreshed. Time to get on with it, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye!